Mikuro, we are His Imperial Majesty Axosu Agelogbagan Agbovi I, the Galodo Hosu, Kilombo Hosu. Hosu means, for lack of a better term, translation, king, in the Agile language. We can be reached at EKAAKILOMBO@gmail.com. That is a Kabo Kilombo @gmail.com. We just want to make this video kind of as an announcement, primarily as a thanks to all of those that have supported Gunlodo, that have supported me personally as Axosu, as king, and as a writer. We really thank you for your patronage and your continued patronage, because it seems like the average person that buys one book from us, they end up pretty much trying to get all of them. We have 20 books out now, as of now. So we want to really thank the people that support that work. There's different ways you can show support. Some people may not want to join you per se, your organization or your temple, or in our case, monarchy. We have a full-fledged monarchy, which most people call kingdom. They may not join your organization or your whatever you got going on, but they may support it in different ways. And so we really thank the people that have bought Kilombo Paradigm, bought Iwe Fun Odu Ifa, Iwakiri, The Quest for African Spirituality, Ajo Inu, The Inner Journey Beyond the Quest, New African Voduns, Volume 1 through 3, Besu Wema Kulita, Book of Divine Ancestral Law, Ganhumehan, Huangan, Vodun Meditations, the Book of African Vodun Names, the Kilombo Cookbook, Re-Africanization through Agile African Diet. We're trying to think of the names of some of the books. There's so many that's out there. So we really thank people for supporting us in what we do. Ajisi Way, the Holy Ajisi Way. That's another book. So we've sold books. Sold books in places and got feedback from these beautiful people in Brazil, São Paulo, Brazil, Recife, Brazil, some other parts of Brazil. We can't remember the name. We may have had, and our books have been out for sale since 2004. If anybody want to put it in perspective, our first book was really written in 1999, and it became it got mainstream in 2004. That's Iwakiri, The Quest. It used to be called Iwakiri, The Quest for African Spirituality. Now it's Iwakiri, An African Spiritual Quest. That's the subtitle now. So starting about 2004 with this, right? And since then we've sold, let's say, maybe, being honest, maybe 10 books in Hawaii, in various islands in Hawaii. Brazil, as we mentioned. Mexico, sold a number of books down there. Venezuela, Puerto Rico, trying to think of some other South American countries. Definitely a few in the Caribbean, except for Jamaica. We haven't sold any books in Jamaica that we can remember. We sold books in Benin, where the culture comes from. The primary book that sold in Benin was the Fongbe Primer, which is the book about the Fon dialect of the Agile language. Phone Bay Primer, Functional Phone Language for Our Everyday World. That's the name of that book. Sells in Benin, where they speak the language, where the language came from. We've sold a good number of books in Benin, Nigeria, none in Togo, none in Ghana, but many Ghanaian people, people from Ghana have purchased the book. The books that live in the Americas, like United States of America, Canada, and some from England. Right? They were actually Akan people, but they live abroad. And speaking of England, we've had a good number of books to sell there in England. African people. These are African people. Sweden. What's that? Next to Russia. But these are African communities that live in these areas. I think we mentioned Canada. In the United States of America, California, the state of Washington, many books out that way. Oklahoma, Texas, many, especially when it comes to like the Dallas area, Dallas and Houston, a few in Austin, Texas, believe it or not. San Antonio. Dallas, by the way, is where we were crowned in the year 6251, or in the Gregorian year of 2010. Mississippi, Louisiana, not many in Louisiana. Mississippi, a good amount. Detroit, Illinois, Chicago in particular, Baltimore, DC, a lot of books sold out that way. Atlanta, different places in Georgia, as a matter of fact. Savannah, Columbia, Columbus, is that Columbus or Columbia? But that one. We sold a fair amount of books that way. South Carolina, North Carolina, Rhode Island. We had a number of orders like back to back from Rhode Island. Don't know what that's about, but that's a good thing. Tennessee, even Kentucky. May have had like 2 or 3 in Kentucky that we can remember. These stand out when it's like a few, like a very few. So that's how we can kind of remember those. All around the United States of America, we had one book about 10 or 11 years ago to sell in the state of Alabama. One book. That was in Mobile. That was a sister. She was a poet and she was in the culture. And we think we met her either on MySpace or Facebook. She found out about our works and she ordered Iwakiri at the time, subtitled The Quest for African Spirituality. Not Birmingham, no Birmingham. You would think, well, you probably got some orders from Birmingham, right? No Birmingham, no Huntsville, no Montgomery, where we went to college at. One from Mobile, and this sister is significantly younger than us, so she didn't know us personally. She did not know us personally. Now, right now, we probably could call out the names of maybe 200 people from Mobile that we know that's living, that we know personally, that say they have no problem with us at all. They're always asking us, hey, when you coming home? Coming home from Mardi Gras? Coming home? Like, if I'm going to come home, it doesn't have to be for Mardi Gras. You know what I'm saying? And we emphasize not having problems with people, right? Because it'll be different. Some people, we've talked to people even in this culture where they leave their city, they had to leave for a reason. They had to, they were a different person then. They were involved in some whatever or did something crazy and they had to get out of that city. So a lot of people they can't deal with from their city. It's not the case with me in Mobile, Alabama, which makes this even more strange. One person who never knew us from Mobile bought a book. Bought the first book that we ever put out. Not one of my friends that say they're my friends have purchased any of my books. They haven't, when I speak to them, they haven't really gone over what I do, what I'm about. Forget the Axosu thing, in relation to this. What about the priesthood? What about the authorship? What about the nation building work that you do? Nobody asked me that from Mobile. That's interesting. So we get love from Sao Paulo, Brazil, Benin in the east, Sao Paulo, Brazil in the south, Canada in the north, Hawaii in the west, as far west, Hawaii, Sweden. We want to say the Netherlands. What's that? Prussia. Is next to Russia? Yeah, Prussia. There's some African people out there who have bought a few of our works that deal with we've written on Ifa, like the divination system. Iwe Fun Odu Ifa, that's another name, another one of the books. Not two people from Alabama have purchased our books. That is a problem, not for us, but for Alabama. That shows you a certain mentality that's going on there. When your own friends don't support your work, that's a problem. You may not be able to use that term friend. So, somebody could throw that in the equation. That's another discussion, that could definitely be had. But when you are selling internationally, but you're not selling in the state, not the city, because let's say you had a problem with people in your city. They don't know about you in the other cities, as far away, let's say Birmingham, Huntsville, whatever, right? When you're not selling in the state that you're from, but you're selling everywhere else, big time, that shows that that's a reflection of the mentality of the people in that state, the African people in that state. So part of this message is a wake-up call. Think about it. Think about it. You can't lip service somebody to death, but you don't really support. But you support everything else. You go into St. Patrick's Day parades. But here you have people from your city, African people, that have made major history. And you don't support that. You don't buy one book, a $20 book. And it could this is not just about our person. This is in general talking about the mentality. Something is really wrong with that equation. Something is really amiss, torn asunder with this situation. When you can support something that ain't got nothing to do with your culture, and you can't support somebody that you say you love and say you know, well, you do know them. You've looked at their growth over time and all of that, and you can't support that. That's very interesting. But once again, we don't want to get too personal. We're talking about me being an author of African, about African culture, African spiritual traditions. This is a reflection of the non-interest of the Black Americans in Mobile. The fact that we're selling everywhere. Savannah, is it Columbus? No, that's Ohio. Columbia, Georgia. Something like that. It's a little country area. All these different places. And Alabama is not in the equation. Even Kentucky is in the equation. Ohio, Milwaukee. Lot of orders in Milwaukee. Different places as we think more and more. But even in Maine, New England area, we're getting orders from African people. Now, here's another thing. We get a lot of orders that we reject that come from non-African people. In particular, orders for the book on the language that we wrote, Fong Bay Primer. Now, some people are like, why would you reject? We don't want them in our culture. So when we can catch that they are non-African, we just send their money back. It's real simple. We send their money back. We got a ledger that shows refund, 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 refund. And when you see that, those are non-African people. So this is definitely not about money. I don't make money off of this. Our profession is Microsoft certified systems engineer. That's we contract out. We have our own business. So this is not about money. So we are serious about the culture. Man, we reject non-African. But the non-African supposedly tries to show more support than people from Alabama. We have things like the Clotilda that came in 1860, the so-called last slave ship. We have Africatown that was developed from those Africans that came off of the Clotilda. Then now white people have shown this great interest in Africatown. You better believe it's for their own survival and for money. But then white folks say they're interested now. The descendants of those that were on the Clotilda are now all of a sudden proud to be a descendant, as they call it, descendants of the Clotilda. Like, was the Clotilda your mother? Is Clotilda a culture? Or is it a slave ship, as y'all call it? And if that's the case, they have t-shirts they're making with an image of how the ship supposedly had looked. Because the ship burnt down. The crackers burnt the ship to keep from being discovered. Because the British man of wars, the man of war ships that were patrolling the Atlantic, they claimed the water for themselves, by the way. So they're patrolling their waters for so-called slave ships. And they ended the transport of Africans from the continent to the Americas and Europe or whatever in 1808. But that wasn't because of benevolence. That was an economic move. So now they put ships out there to make sure that that wasn't happening. And these man of war chased the Clotilda. The Clotilda got to Mobile, rushed all the Africans off of the ship, and the cracker, the Forrester, the ship's captain, who made the bet that he can go over there with he made the bet with the mayor crackers there in Mobile. They burnt the ship down to try to burn up the evidence. They took him to trial. Of course, nothing happened because some kind of way they got found out either way, and nothing happened at the trial. Well, in fact, something did happen at the trial. They got acquitted. And the mayors were able to retain their captive Africans. Some went to there that's not called Africatown. And so this video is less about that, though. Some of the 129 people on the ship went to Africa, created Africatown. This is where you get Cujo Lewis from. So the point is, this is a very strange. Our people from Alabama, and particularly Mobile, where I am directly from, should really re-examine themselves. White people coming in, they've shown this interest in the Africatown and Clotilda. They're going to run anything beneficial about Africatown. They're going to be the receipt of it, white people, unless you take control. Juneteenth celebration could possibly get big in that happens in Africatown, in Mobile. That's going to be ran by white people. It's already pretty much directed by whites right now, And it's like our people are just happy they feel accepted when white folks show a concern, an interest. An interest, not a concern in a particular subject pertaining to African people, so-called black people. Your interest don't mean you're concerned. Your interest is, what can I benefit from that? That's the white interest in this. You know. And they do that because they know we don't honor our own. Once again, one book. This is a fact. Somebody might be like, no, you've been selling books so long, you might not remember. We know the small scale stuff stand out in relation to that, to certain things. One book in the state of Alabama in 16 years. Think about it. Think about what you're doing as you go to the Mardi Gras and the St. Patrick's Day thing, and you big up in European culture and European clothing, European foods. Think about that. You gotta think in yourself. You can say what you want. Some people may have a problem with me, just like I said, what I said about the dead basketball player. They got personal. They got mad about somebody that they never knew personally, that they were never closer than a TV screen away from, ever. A person that didn't even care about black women, could care less, which is good because when he did his dirt, he did it with white women, so that's good in this case. But anyway, we want you to think about that. No, this is not a ploy or nothing like that to get people in Alabama to buy our books. We want to be very clear, make this disclaimer. We are good on book sales. We're good on book sales alone in Brazil. Just Brazil. So we're good. We're trying to get you to look at your mentality and think about what you're doing. Think about this for a second. We've sold all around the world except for our own home state / home city, except for one book. Come on now. This is sad, actually. It's embarrassing, not for us, but for you. You got people, you've even brought people in from Benin, chiefs from Benin, but not your own homegrown. That's another issue. That's another problem. Because see, you're being either way the cultural child of other people. You're being a stepchild, a child to be stepped on. Either way. Guess what? We're going to pay a lot of money to bring this chief in from Benin during Juneteenth. Forget the fact that we got somebody that probably maybe only a few hundred miles away from us right now, that's born and raised in this city, that knows this city, that knows these people, that knows the intricacies of the culture here. Forget the fact that he, first of all, outranks this chief that we are bringing here. Or maybe you don't know that. And maybe you don't know that because you don't study the culture. And you don't study the culture and you don't know that because you got mesmerized with an image. We call that the messianic complex. Messianic coming from Messiah. Messiah is a savior. A Jesus, for lack of a better term, a Jesus figure. So you seeing in the different people a Jesus figure. But you haven't noticed that your own homegrown, Mobile, Alabama, born and raised, has achieved these type of things in the culture that you're promoting during Juneteenth and dealing with things with Clotilde and Africa Time. It's on you after this. When you see this and you continue in the same vein, look, we're good at Gunlodo. GunlodoKingdom.com. GANLODO Kingdom.com. Our publications are at restorationhealing.com. Restorationhealing.com. That site is called Quilombo Restoration and Healing. Our nation building continues, no matter what. But we feel we've been a little silent on this, and we needed to say something to our fellow people from Alabama, in particular Mobile. From here, you can choose to continue to be a cultural child, or you can build up what is homegrown, what you already have, or ask questions about it, or whatnot. Odigba.